A lot of people are saying The Boys is the best superhero show on TV. We are continuing our discussion about The Boys, going through episodes 6 through 8, so let the discussion begin. Hey, how is everybody? My name is Al. Welcome to the channel. This is a place where we love to have discussion around our favorite movies, our favorite TV shows. So if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. We post videos weekly, 2 to 3 times a week. Now, let's get started. In episodes 6 through 8, we get a closer look at the Seven, and we really see how they are struggling to manage their careers as superheroes and have some kind of semblance of a normal life. We can see the Homelander is becoming more and more disenchanted of having to play the game that Vought is presenting of him in public. We also find out more about the female. We find that her name is Kimiko, and we find that she was actually taken as a child, recruited as a soldier, and was given Compound V by the government to position her as a supervillain to garner support for the Seven becoming part of the military. Annie and Hughie are working really hard to try and hide the fact that they're in a relationship, but Billy suspects something. And we also find that A-Train is struggling at the fact that his speed is actually diminishing as he is suffering from the prolonged effects of Compound V. Homelander does some digging and he finds out more information about the boys, including Hughie, which prompts him to call a meeting with the Seven. During this meeting, he accuses Starlight of actually helping to take down the Seven, and he likely would have terminated her at that time if Queen Maeve had not stepped in and convinced him to let her handle the situation with Starlight. Hughie, after being questioned by Billy, finally comes clean about his relationship with Annie or Starlight, and now the rest of the boys know that those two are in a relationship. A-Train sets up a meeting between himself and Hughie after abducting his father, with the idea that Hughie would come and try and save his father, and A-Train would actually take Hughie's life. But Hughie is prepared for this meeting because he comes with a vial of Compound V, and we know that A-Train is still very much addicted to this substance. So as a result of that, Hughie is able to get out of this predicament, also with the help of the female, or Kimiko, who actually breaks A-Train's leg and allows them to escape. Homelander starts to do some more digging, and he finds out more information about Billy Butcher's wife, and he finds that he actually impregnated her during a one-night stand, but that she lost the baby and she died in the process. We also see that the Deep is becoming unhinged as he has been removed from the Seven, and he's having a hard time dealing with that fact. Hughie meets with Starlight to explain what's going on, and Vought actually is in trouble with the US government, who threatens to shut them down as they find out that the Vought Corporation has actually created Compound V to create superheroes. As a result of that, the acceptance of heroes into the military is very threatened. But at the last moment, the government actually finds out that there are super villains that have been created by Compound V, and they are in turn forced to allow Vought to have their heroes in the military. Now, we know that this was all initiated by Homelander, the whole idea of creating super villains to actually force the government's hand so that now they have to actually have the Seven included in the military. As a result of that, Homelander actually does help the military on a mission where it looks like they are about to invade a building where the folks in the building are actually creating cloned or counterfeit Compound V. Homelander goes in there, wipes everybody out in a rather vicious and cruel way, which really does show the sinister side of who he is. Annie is very upset with her parents, and she confronts them for allowing the Vought company to use her as a test subject for Compound V when she was a little girl. And we meet the founder of the boys as Billy and Hughie go to ask her for a favor. So while all this is taking place, we find that the boys are actually being captured by what appears to be a Black Ops group. We also find that Billy learns an important piece of information that might give him the upper hand against Homelander. Hughie and Billy have a big argument after finding that the rest of the boys have been captured, and Hughie decides to go himself and try to rescue the boys, and Billy decides to allow their fate to be whatever it is as he continues with his mission to get Homelander. Homelander has another conversation with Stillwell where he makes her promise that she will be honest with him, but she, in a very manipulative way, promises that she would be, but as she has done in the past, tries to soothe and manipulate Homelander both physically and emotionally. We can see that Annie is becoming a bit unhinged herself as she's having a very difficult time dealing with all that's happened between her and Hughie and really feeling betrayed by their relationship. So Billy has figured out that Homelander's weakness is Stillwell. well. So he captures her at her house and actually straps her with an explosive vest, with the whole idea of luring Homelander there and killing all of them in one blow. Homelander arrives and has a conversation with Billy and is talking to him about why he's doing what he's doing. And at this point, Homelander has full and complete information about what has happened with Billy's wife and what has happened to him in his past. He also has a conversation with Stillwell, and he asks her some very poignant questions, one of which was, did you ever really love me? And of course she says yes. She tries to manipulate him like she normally does, but he's not falling for it this time. He asks her for the truth. She admits that she is afraid of him, and as a result of that, he essentially kills her with his laser vision, burning out her eyes and really the inside of her skull. It is quite a horrific scene. When Billy sees this, he's thinking, oh well, hits the detonation button and boom, everything goes bright white. Well, we find out later on that Billy actually wakes up on a lawn and he is fine. He sees Homelander standing over him and Homelander says, I want to show you something. Billy turns to see a little boy standing on the lawn. Then he sees his wife come from around the corner and he's shocked to see that she is still alive. Homelander has a conversation with the little boy and introduces himself and tells the little boy that he is actually the little boy's father. And that is the end of season 1. So at least at the point of this video, The Boys has an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes and like a 94% by the public. Forbes magazine called it the best superhero show on TV. Why is it that people resonate with this show so much? So that's a question to you. One of the things I think that's really, really special about this show in terms of what makes it so accessible to us, the viewer, is its world building. The way that this show is constructed is it's done in such a way that the world of The Boys feels very familiar because it's not that dissimilar from the world that we live in today. But what also makes the show special is the fact that it is a world that's familiar to you and I, right? But that world has superheroes in a way that we've not really experienced them from what we're used to seeing, because this is such a deconstructive look at superheroes. And prior to The Boys, we really have only seen superheroes in a positive, moral, and uplifting light. And The Boys flips that whole concept on its head and says, what if there were superheroes? What if they were really in a world very similar to yours, but they were not actually good? They were doing very, very sinister things. So I think this whole idea is intriguing to us, and I think that's why people really love the show. I think people also like the fact that the show really is kind of cutthroat, irreverent, and some of that even bothers me. There are elements to The Boys that are a bit much to take because it's so cutthroat, so irreverent, and it's a lot. But I also think that that's part of why people really love the show. Now, what I especially love about episodes 6 through 9 is the character arcs that we get to see there too, especially Huey's character. He is so much different. He's come so far from what he was when we met him in episode 1 to where he is today. He's grown a spine basically, but I'm also really fascinated to see what happens, as we just talked about when we did our run through of episodes 6 through 9, of what's happening with the different members of the Seven and how they themselves are really becoming unraveled as they really try to hold on to all of it, right? As they try to maintain their public image, but still try to have some semblance of a personal life and still deal with the fact of the duplicitous nature that they are involved in as being members of the Seven, but also being human beings themselves. And I think we forget that when we're watching The Boys, that these are humans. They're people. And they have the same emotions, the same struggles that we go through. It's just that their life is very different from ours. So the way that this show portrays all of that makes it really fascinating to me. So tell me what your favorite aspect of The Boys is. Why do you love the show so much? Let's have a conversation about that. Now, if you have not seen our Versus video, which is right here, where we put Homelander against Superman, and I've caught a lot of kickback for my view on this, then make sure you check it out. I'll meet you there next. Peace.